Hello everyone, Ryan Cavanaugh and my partner for this evening, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, Mr. Darren Branch. And the action this week comes to you from the Performing Arts Center in Columbus, Ohio. It's OFC 21 Intimidation. And Darren, once again, the Ohio Fighting Championships has raised the bar, moving to a bigger venue.
They're moving into a bigger venue. The seats are starting to fill even as we speak, even though it's quite early in the evening. I'm looking forward to an exciting night of fights.
It's a calm before the storm right now, but later the storm in our main event is a battle of two 3-in-1 fighters. It's Anthony Morgan taking on Andrew Law. And Darren, we start with Anthony Morgan. Morgan is a fighter who went undefeated until his last fight against a very tough George Comer. I'm looking to see how Morgan's going to respond.
Well, losing to a man like Comer coming out of the Griffin Raw camp, nothing to be ashamed of. What we're going to see is, how does this man rebound? Coming back from a loss can be tough. Let's see what happens tonight.
Well, across the cage from him is a very well-rounded Andrew Law. He's a fighter who, with a judo background, he's kind of elevated his game in other areas, Darren.
This is true. He's been working with Ryan the Lion Madigan, and anytime you take a high-powered grappling game and stick it with a high-powered striking coach, you get something dynamic.
Dynamic it will be. That's your main event tonight. It's Anthony Morgan taking on Andrew Law. We've got that and much more coming up next.
Intimidation Clothing is the biggest supporter of local MMA and combat sports in the Midwest, working with top fighters and events in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and more. While other brands come and go, Intimidation brings a consistency to the industry rarely seen in local MMA. With more than 110 styles of high-quality t-shirts, hats, hoodies, training gear, and more, find Intimidation online at intimidationclothing.com and at sporting events across the Midwest. Nobody supports local MMA like Intimidation. Nobody.
Ladies and gentlemen, your opening contest of the evening is scheduled for three-minute rounds in the OFC lightweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. This man is a Shaolin fighter in his first career MMA fight. He stands 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighing in at 151 pounds. Fighting out of Columbus, Ohio, let's hear it for James the Abbott Berto. And his opponent, fighting out of the blue corner. This man is a freestyle fighter in his first career MMA fight. He stands 6 feet tall, weighing at 146 pounds. Fighting out of Zanesville, Ohio, Tyler Cavalier. And your referee for this contest is Mike Napple.
James Berto in the red and white tie trunks. Tyler Cavalier, black and white. Mike Napple, third man inside the cage. I'm Ryan Cavanaugh along with my partner Darren Branch. And we are ready to get underway. This is amateur lightweight action, three-minute rounds. And it's Cavalier, touch of gloves, takes center cage. Outside leg kick by both fighters. Cavalier holding his hands real low. And there's this back fist by Berto, which lands, and Cavalier digging for the double leg.
He's still coming forward. He's pinning him against the cage here, trying to recover from that one big back fist.
Here's Cavalier doing a nice job of keeping his head away from Berto with the lands one upstairs, pressuring him, and Berto looks to switch him. Cavalier doing a nice job of pressuring Berto up against the cage.
A smart move. He was stunned a little bit in the early going. It's a smart idea to pin this guy against the cage and get your bearings.
Tie clinch, and Berto going to the body. Landed some nice shots to the body there. Cavalier looks like there's a guillotine available for him there.
Perhaps, but against the cage it can be difficult sometimes. It looks tight though, Ryan. It looks tight.
Slam by Berto, and Cavalier hangs on. He's looking to
Often
finish.
when you slam in a guillotine, you slam yourself deeper.
He's looking to finish James Berto here in the first round. Darren, what does Berto have to do to get out of this?
He would have to drive in and look up. It's the most important thing. Look up.
He's fighting the hands here, Cavalier. Should he be trying to separate the hands of Tyler Cavalier? And he's out.
A great, great display of defense by James Berto.
Good composure by Berto.
Now we're seeing Berto work him against the fence.
Cavalier looks to be working for an armbar
He's
here.
bringing the legs up high here. He has something. Let's see if it gets tight.
Looks like Cavalier would be looking to almost He could either extend him or go belly down here.
He could. If he could spin belly down, it could be very, very tight.
It's got him in a lot of trouble. We're coming.
It looks dangerous.
Big slam by James Berto. Cavalier hangs on to the right arm of Berto, looking to finish. Second time in this 3-minute round in 2 minutes that Cavalier's threatening the submission on James Berto.
Maybe he's found a hole in Mr. Berto's game, but that armbar looks very tight. That's a dangerous position.
Berto spikes him again, and how effective is that, Darren, as far as loosening the grip of the man applying pressure?
It can go either way, Ryan. It's a very good question. If you slam the guy, often it sinks you deeper into submission, so an experienced guy will close the deal, where a less experienced guy may just try to recover the guard or avoid the slam.
Right now there's inside 30 seconds for James Berto. He may just need to survive this round.
That's true. Survival would be important. I would just pressure in, pressure, pressure, pressure. Don't allow this guy to extend his hips.
And right now he is. He's stacked Cavalier up. Cavalier can't create the distance and the pressure needed to really torque that arm. We hear the bell. It's the final 10 seconds of round number 1, and an action-packed round number 1 at that.
Indeed, indeed.
Of course, wow, 1 round in the books. Tyler Cavalier, you know, he mentioned he's been training since 6 years old, and really, after catching some punches, Darren, he overwhelmed Berto with his jiu-jitsu.
That's true. So the question is, how do you score that round? Do you score that round for the guy who hurt the man with strikes, or do you score that round for the person who had 2 very close submissions?
Yeah, well, personally, I give that to Tyler Cavalier. He came closer to finishing the fight.
I would agree that he was closer to finishing. Often, the judges would like to see the standing or the top side man. The guy on top is the one controlling the fight in their eye.
Right, and it's a good point when considering scoring when you look at damage. And can damage only be done with strikes? In the eyes of judges, that may be the case. Personally, you're doing damage with the submission attempts and putting him in awkward places.
I would expect that Mr. Berto's arm is in pain. Right now, he's looking at this guillotine attempt. It gets much, much tighter than Mr. Berto was expecting when he jumps guard here. A very tight cinch on the neck. You can see how extended it is. Mr. Berto grabbed the cage for a moment, was taken off, and here it's very tight. He's struggling here, trying to decide what to do. Luckily for him, honestly, his head just ends up popping out of that guillotine. Didn't do very much to get out himself.
We see a smiling James Berto ready. Mike Napple brings the fighters together, and we are ready for round 2 of 3, amateur 3 rounds of action. It's, again, touching gloves. It's Tyler Cavalier that takes center. And we'll see how long Berto can keep this action standing. Nice outside leg kick. Left hand by Cavalier lands. Wow. And it's Berto who responds to the rep, but we saw the left hand land clean from Tyler Cavalier.
Again, pressuring him into that cage seems to be a successful strategy for Mr. Cavalier.
Body shot and a big right by Tyler Cavalier. James Berto eats it.
Looking for that takedown. If he could connect his hands here, he might be successful.
Berto looks to be having fun in there, and so far this round it's been Cavalier imposing his will and finding a home for his right and left hands. There's a knee to the body, but Berto catches it. Almost a stalemate position where the fighters are resting, but you know, Cavalier
continues to drop for those hips. Let's see if he can lock those hands together and secure a takedown. There we are. But a good job by Berto working out. I'd like to see him sprawl or go for that guillotine. He's looking to lock his hands right now.
Here he goes. What's he looking for?
Now he's looking around to strike and score here. Cavalier continues to drive.
Looking for the takedown, and it's Berto who takes his back. He looks to get the back of Cavalier.
That could be tight, Ryan.
It's like he's got the neck. He doesn't have the hands connected. He's trying to get the hooks in. He's got one. Now he's got both hooks in. He's got the neck of Tyler Cavalier.
He's fighting the hands here. He's fighting the hands. I'd like to see him fight that arm that's around his neck.
It's a minute to go here in the second round.
He's looking to turn in. He's looking to turn in, Ryan.
He's turned into the choke, but it looks like he's not underneath the chin there.
No,
Cavalier
he's doing
not
okay
in
right now. And now he finds himself on top.
Settles into the guard of Berto, but he's throwing some I wouldn't say lazy punches. He just seems to be tired. Cavalier looks to be exhausted on top.
He
of
has
James Berto.
faded. He has faded, Ryan. That is true. I agree with you.
Berto locks up the guard. It's interesting to see as he switched him just inside a minute here. Cavalier rises up. This is a difficult round to score up to this point.
Again, a back and forth battle between two very game fighters.
Cavalier trying to steal this round. He's got to get busy. He's got to put some points together, put the hand on Berto. I don't care how much power it has, as long as you score some points and leave an impression in the eyes of the judges as we come to the end of round number 2.
With 10 seconds left, he should do something big to make an impression, and here he goes, opening up.
Cavalier gets his posture, lands a couple punches, and Berto looks to land a couple. 2 rounds in the books. We mentioned the action that the OFC brings, and so far, 2 debut fighters, James Berto and Tyler Cavalier, have not let us down.
They are game, to say the least.
Darren, unofficial scorecard. How do you score this fight after 2 rounds?
How dare you, Mr. Kavanaugh? I would score this fight 2 rounds for Berto. How about that?
Wow.
2018 for Berto.
Wow, and we see the lovely OFC ring girls. That is, I think that's a testament to just how difficult this fight is to score as we take a look at some of the action for this round 2.
Here we are with a takedown attempt that turns into a back take by James Berto. A deep rear naked choke, but he fights it off. Cavalier does a great job toughing it out here. Eventually, he turned in and stayed on top for the rest of the round.
And quite frankly, that may have been the turning point of that round because, you know, had Cavalier successfully gotten the takedown, he would have never put himself in a choke position. He would have never given the opportunity for Berto to be considered for that round, I believe.
That's a very good point, but I feel he felt like he was being threatened on the feet, decided to close the distance, and it was what it was.
Also interesting in this match is that Berto comes in as the fighter 5 pounds heavier, but Cavalier's the one who's been able to impose the will on the clinch game. It's round 3, OFC 21 intimidation.
Often the longer fighter does have an advantage in that clinch. I think that's what we're seeing come into play.
Tyler Cavalier takes center cage in the white and black trunks, red and black for James Berto. Ryan Cavanaugh along with Darren Branch. Big right from Cavalier and James Berto. A left from Cavalier, and I believe Berto's hurt. Berto. And yeah, there's a knee by Berto responding, and he's all over Cavalier. Cavalier with
Wonderful takedown.
wow, beautiful takedown.
Now we see the mount. Let's see if he can posture up and land some heavy strikes.
Berto with the upa, but he runs into the cage, unfortunately. And it's Cavalier mounting James Berto. And there's...
He should use his hands for base here. He doesn't want to lose his position. If he can close out the fight here, even if it ends in a decision, it may be enough to win the fight for Cavalier.
Well, right now it's all Cavalier. He's using the hand over the mouth of James Berto.
The old smother technique.
Right, he's real high, and he's looking to finish James Berto. Mike Napple's taking a close look. I'm not sure how many of these are getting through, but Napple certainly is taking a close look.
True, but Berto must improve.
Mike Napple's seen enough. It's Tyler Cavalier finishing James Berto round 3 by strikes.
An excellent sportsmanship. It's nice to see that, even, especially at the amateur level. Nice to see them help each other up.
Wow, Tyler Cavalier making an impression in his debut. Very solid, well-rounded performance.
Excellent job by 2 young fighters. Here's the replay. We see Tyler on top, smothering the mouth and then closing out with heavy hands from the top. Berto extending his arms, then covering his face, had to be rescued by the referee. A strong performance by both debuting fighters.
Big round. And we send it up to Nick Hahn in the cage to make it official.
Ladies and gentlemen, the referee has called a stop to this contest at 1 minute, 12 seconds in round number 3. Declaring your winner by TKO, Tyler Cavalier. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this fight is scheduled for three-minute rounds in the OFC lightweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. This man is a freestyle fighter with an MMA record of 1 win with 1 loss. He stands 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighing at 153 1/2 pounds. Fighting out of Beaver Creek, Ohio, Brad Miller. And his opponent, fighting out of the blue corner. This man is a boxer with an MMA record of 1 win with 1 loss. He stands 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighing at 154 1/2 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Brandon Loring. And the man in charge of the action is Mr. Brent Bullock.
Bring them together, fighters touch gloves. It's Brandon Loring in the white fight trunks, Brad Miller black and red. I'm Ryan Cavanaugh, joined by Darren Branch. Left-handed Brandon Loring, right uppercut.
Right against the cage.
Pushed up against the cage right in front of us, Darren. And I believe Loring caught him with a left, and Miller shot for the takedown.
Using those double underhooks to try to stay on his feet right now is Loring. Now looking to secure possible guillotine. Knee to the body from Brandon Loring. Now he looks for the takedown.
Switching positions.
And finishes. On top now, inside control. Pinning Brad Miller against the cage.
A lot of pressure here from Brandon Loring. Look at him pulling it down, looking like he wants to pass.
Well, that little hook there is often used, but it's not really the best position. What he's done now is kind of cross this kid's legs up. It's nearly a mount position. Very dangerous on top there right now. He's looking good.
Brandon Loring, cross face here, trying to get mount, and he's got them all twisted up. And he's either going to mount him or take his back.
He's a bit high here. There's the mount. Let's see what he does with this dominant position.
Again, Brandon Loring's 1 win by rear naked choke. He's now mounted Brad Miller. Miller, to his credit, holding on, and he switches him over. He reverses it.
A great reversal.
He's now in the guard of Loring, but he's landing some punches. Lefts from Miller. Big right, and we've got action in the cage. Crowd on their feet.
A good job not allowing a lot of separation there in the transition, but Brandon Loring right back in on the single leg as this crowd is erupting for these guys.
Big takedown for Loring.
Look to see Brandon pull him away from the cage a bit so that he can't work up to stand back up to his feet. Again, that twisted up leg positioning being utilized by Brandon Loring as he starts to bring down the strikes.
Right in front of Brandon Loring's corner. He's getting some outstanding advice here on what to do as we enter the last minute of this first round. Three-minute rounds. And he's using that right arm to really push up, down and apply pressure to the throat of Brad Miller.
Yes, that form across the throat, not really dangerous in terms of submitting him, but it forces him to adjust. And now, fully mounted on top is Brandon Loring, looking to create space and eventually damage.
Almost an elbow to the face there. And look at him pushing down.
Again, looking for that pressure across the throat.
And Brandon Loring's right in the corner of his fight team. Look at him getting the advice. You see the bottom left of your screen.
A very smart move to pull the man into
Brandon Loring posturing up, landing some blows.
Not a lot landing here.
Ride it out here, give me a couple more strikes.
Look for a good left. Round number 1's in the books, and Brandon
very good
Loring.
round from both guys.
Tip up from Brad Miller. You know, that's not going to score any points, but it certainly tells the opponent, I'm okay.
It's demonstrative, right? He'd like to show that he has lots of energy left as he walks back to the cage. Again, both guys standing up in the corner, more demonstrative behavior. Brandon chooses to take a seat.
We take a look at Brandon Loring, and so, you know, what won it, that round, in my book, that goes to Brandon Loring, and what did it was the ability to scramble, stay on top, be dominant, and also land some strikes.
Absolutely. What's shocking to me right now is that I'm seeing Brandon Loring being tended to, and it took half of the break for Brad Miller to have his second come in and give him some water. In 10 more seconds, he's going to be told to leave. He's got to get on top of his corner and do a better job.
We got to look at the beautiful Mary Lou Hayes, one of the OFC ring girls, letting us know what round it is. Darren, for Brad Miller, as we take a look at some of the action here where Miller actually was in control.
This was wonderful. Right here at this separation, he holds onto the ankle. He was looking to pass and punch right away. A very smart play. However, Brandon closed the distance, worked that single, and eventually scores another takedown.
Really impressive scrambles. What does Brad Miller have to do, Darren, in round number 2 to kind of turn the ebb and flow of this bout around?
He needs to limit the ability of Brandon to scramble. Right now, the scrambles are what's costing him this fight.
Miller with the teep, Loring with the right hand. Brad Miller, for only training 7 months, is extremely composed. Outside leg kick by Miller.
I would agree. Right now, you can see a little bit more shoulder and hand movement from the opponent in the white trunks. I'd like to see Brad Miller a little looser in there. He looks a little stiff right now.
Right hand by Brad Miller.
Big
and
right
I think
hand.
He hurt Brandon Loring. Loring, though, close it, and he's got a handful of the shorts of Miller. And it's interesting that Miller's now pushing away and separating. Miller seems to be winning on the feet.
He does seem to have the advantage there. Again, we see the fighter lock his hands and pull him away from the cage. A good takedown by Brandon Loring.
Mouthpiece goes flying. Loring on top of Miller up against the cage. It's one of those tough situations where you got to get the mouthpiece back to the fighter, but you don't want to break up the action.
Right, whenever there's a break in the action, the referee will look to put that mouthpiece back in. Safety of the fighter always of paramount importance.
Brad Miller right now trying to control the wrists of Brandon Loring. Brandon Loring is outstanding ground control, outstanding ability to smother his opponent, and he's got him in that weird situation again where he pins his left leg over his body and makes it difficult for Miller to escape.
Yes, on the bottom, he could be looking to set up a triangle from side control as he shoves the arm inside the legs. Look for him to try to move his head inside the legs now as well. Both fighters scoring, working hard.
Side control,
mount
looks to step
attempt.
over.
Unsuccessful. Right now, Brad Miller should utilize this underhook he has to try to get to his side and stand back up. He gets some distance here, right back to his feet. Here we go.
Miller wants it on the feet. He takes center cage. Let's see if he can land one of those big bombs. Feint by Loring. And Brad Miller is standing right in front of him. Not a lot of foot movement.
And there you see the 7 months of training, right? 7 months, still a lot of heart, not a lot of seasoning in his skills. The subtleties aren't there yet.
Brandon Loring just misses with the sweeping left. And he's able to get in again. Miller wants to separate here, Darren. He does not want to play the clinch game.
But he hasn't been successful there so far. I think he should separate and look to score.
He's got to separate. He's not winning the clinch game
and
here.
Here we go again. Guillotine attempt. He abandons that. Brandon Loring's going to look to pull him away from that cage again. And slam him right down against the cage.
And it looked like he had
reaching for the cage, reaching for the cage.
And I'm surprised that Miller let go of that guillotine attempt. It looked like he had him in a position where he gave his hands claps.
Revisiting those foot stomps from earlier in the night.
Brad Miller, final 10 seconds of round number 2. Can he keep the fight upright?
He needs to really try to sink that guillotine in the short time.
Going for a guillotine attempt on Loring. Can Miller finish? Runs out of time. And Brad Miller had that position earlier in that exchange, and he chose not to try and choke him.
True.
Was that a mistake?
It may be a mistake, or it could be the fact that perhaps he doesn't know how to finish it in that position. He was using it to control him and maybe delay the fight, recover some of his win. Who knows? We'll have to see what happens in round 3.
What a round. As we get a look at Howie Smith, Ring Girl NSO's 3 rounds. This is the 3rd and final round of action, Darren. And in my books, Brandon Loring's up 2-0. Would you agree?
I would agree. It's interesting to see how the judges could score that round, being that maybe if the round doesn't stop, that guillotine gets serious.
Right. Interesting fight. And so far, if you're Brad Miller and you understand, yeah, I have to go for the finish, how do you do it?
I would say he does need the finish. I would look for that guillotine attempt. I would make sure that I maintain distance at this point. Every time that they end up against the cage in a clinch, he ends up on the bottom for quite some time. And the thing about the amateurs is you don't have a lot of time, Ryan.
It's exciting that Brandon Loring, one of the fan favorites here, has been able to control most of it. Really, only one time it was in danger. That was the last 10 seconds of that round. We are now in the third and final round. Brandon Loring in the white, Brad Miller in the black and red. The official brings them together. Ryan Cavanaugh along with Darren Branch bringing you the action right here at Ohio Fighting Championship 21. Intimidation. So far, outstanding night of fights, and these two young fighters are bringing it. Let's see if Miller can get the hands going. Loring pushes forward. Loring lands. And Loring is keeping his hands low.
Again, we see him pinning him against the cage. He's trying to close his hands around the legs of Brad Miller. Brandon Loring looking to score another takedown.
Great takedown defense, but it's Loring continually working and driving and taking him down.
The full guard. Now he's closed his legs around him, trying to limit him. Now he's looking for overhooks. Perhaps we could see a triangle from the long-limbed Brad Miller.
Miller's got to get busy here on the ground. He's got 2 minutes to work, and he's grabbing that wrist.
He's working that triangle. He's going to control the wrist and look to shoot that leg up over the neck of Brandon Loring.
He does have a very high guard. Again, Miller, victory was due to submission by strikes. And look, he's almost working, he's bringing that left leg of his guard very high.
On both sides, he's tried to work the triangle a bit. Knees from the bottom, knees to the butt. A very, very rare technique from Brandon Loring on top.
Halfway through the third and final round, it's Brandon Loring. He passes to half guard. Looking to finish the pass. You know, he certainly has been in the dominant position throughout this fight.
Indeed, he's looking to reverse him right now. This could be dangerous for Brandon Loring.
But he left his arm there.
Armbar attempt. That looks tight, Ryan. He slams his way out and is looking to strike and capitalize.
Miller landing some punches.
This crowd's come to life.
And Loring lets go of the right arm.
Now he's in a triangle situation. Brad Miller needs to posture up. He needs to make sure that he doesn't give this man control of his head. There's the head control. Brandon Loring looking now to close this out with a triangle choke from the bottom.
50 seconds left, and he's going to slam him. Miller just throws him.
Slam.
Oh! Miller landing some punches. Can he finish Brandon Loring? We've got a firefight in the cage. Does Miller have enough to finish? And
it
he
looks
does
like Brandon Loring has faded a great deal. He's clinching on. His mouth is open. He's gasping for air. 20 seconds remain. Can Brad Miller pull this out?
Brad Miller looks exhausted. Loring right now just has to hang on. We're down to the final 15 seconds of this match, and it's Brad Miller with the schoolboy headlock.
10 seconds remaining. He looks for that ankle. Scoring a takedown here. You never know what the judges are thinking.
Miller.
This closing section could win the fight for him.
The fight is over. 3 rounds in the books. Brad Miller finishes strong against Brandon Loring, but was it enough?
Very competitive fight from both guys, and a lot of people in this crowd are on their feet.
Outstanding fight for these two guys. Brandon Loring takes a much-deserved seat in the corner. That was action as we get a look at the crowd here.
Are they going to give Fight of the Night bonuses?
Certainly if they do. We're only halfway through this card, but that fight has to be considered. That was an outstanding performance by both guys.
So take a look at the replay. Right here we see the triangle choke. He controlled the head, but he still gets elevated. Now intelligently, he tries to put his feet on the ground, which you don't often see at the amateur level. An intelligent attempt. Nice little slip there. He does get caught with a couple of straight lefts, turns away for a bit, and then stands and slugs. A really impressive showing by both young fighters.
Great fight. One of these two is going to move to 2-1. Outstanding fight. Good action, and the crowd is still voicing their approval for both fighters. What a fight.
It's hard not to want to coach these guys.
Yeah, right.
I see them in there. I wish I were in each corner at the same time.
Yeah, well, it's exciting too. It has to be exciting for you. You run your own academy, you've got your own students, but to see two people with the potential that they both have, to be able to take that
Especially in this fight, both of these guys, I see, as just a coach, I see a huge upside in both athletes. I'd love to see both of these guys show up at Gracie Muay Thai Cleveland.
Well, the invitation is open. Let me put it out there for them. And both guys in the ring, shaking hands, sign of respect. Nick Hahn also in the ring. He's got the judges' scorecards. I send it up to him to make it official.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 amazing rounds of fighting, we go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. Judge Wise scores the fight 29-28, Loring. Judge McGinnis scores the fight 29-28, Miller. And Judge Markham scores the fight 29-28 for your winner by split decision, Brandon Loring.
Intimidation Clothing is the biggest supporter of local MMA and combat sports in the Midwest, working with top fighters and events in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and more. While other brands come and go, Intimidation brings a consistency to the industry rarely seen in local MMA. With more than 110 styles of high-quality t-shirts, hats, hoodies, training gear, and more, find Intimidation online at intimidationclothing.com and at sporting events across the Midwest. Nobody supports local MMA like Intimidation. Nobody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this fight is scheduled for 3 3-minute rounds in the OFC Heavyweight Division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. This man is a striker with an MMA record of 1 win with no losses. He stands 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing at 223.5 pounds. Fighting out of Columbus, Ohio, let's hear it for JC Lights Out Lyles. And his opponent, fighting out of the blue corner. This man is a freestyle fighter in his first career MMA fight. He weighs 221.5 pounds and stands 6 feet tall. Fighting out of Dayton, Ohio, Brandon Big Dog Storr. And when the action begins, your referee is Dr. Todd Augusta.
Brandon Storr in the black with the white trim on the tie shorts. It's JC Lights Out Lyle in the black spandex. Dr. Todd Augusta, third man in the cage. Ryan Cavanaugh along with Darren Branch bringing you all the action here cage side. Fighters touch gloves. JC Lyle, unconventional head work and footwork. It's Brandon Storr.
Is that the first jab we've seen all night? A nice leg kick by Lights Out.
Powerful outside leg kick. And, you know, JC Lyles has some very large size. A big right.
Stiff jab.
Storr is stunned. And he's
Lights
hurt.
out
JC Lyles.
indeed.
And the ref's trying to step in.
That's
and it's
enough.
all over. Lights Out Lyle has put away Brandon Storr.
Lights out indeed. What a strong showing from this young man. And frankly, strong fundamentals. He started out working a jab, threw off the young man's timing, threw off Brandon Storr's timing, and was able to close it out on the feet. A very good showing.
Very impressive performance by JC Lyles. And I think the replay might be the whole fight, Darren.
Here we are, throwing those jabs out, pumping the jab, catches a right hook. It's the right hook that hurts him. And then he closes the deal, and he keeps patient. He does close a little bit here, but watch the patience here. He doesn't overclose. He gives himself space and continues to throw the hands until the referee steps in. Another connects. Finally, the good doctor steps in to stop the fight.
It was really that right hand that sealed it for him when he had him up against the cage, but right off the bat, that right hook stunned him.
Right hook.
It made him do that dance that fighters do when you got your button hit.
Yeah, it happens. People refer to it sometimes as the chicken dance. It happens when your legs start to go out before your heart or your mind has gone out of the fight. Right now, Brandon Storr still feels like he's ready to fight, I'm sure. He's a game-tough guy. That's why he's here. But his legs said no, the referee agreed, and that makes Lights Out our winner tonight.
Great win for JC Lyles. Really impressive. Really impressive with the technique. We We've got Nick Hahn in the ring for the official announcement. We send it up to him now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the referee has called a stop to this contest with only 26 seconds elapsed in the very first round, declaring your winner by TKO due to strikes, JC Lights Out Lyles.
Intimidation Clothing is the biggest supporter of local MMA and combat sports in the Midwest, working with top fighters and events in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and more. While other brands come and go, Intimidation brings a consistency to the industry rarely seen in local MMA. With more than 110 styles of high-quality t-shirts, hats, hoodies, training gear, and more, find Intimidation online at intimidationclothing.com and at sporting events across the Midwest. Nobody supports local MMA like Intimidation. Nobody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a professional lightweight bout for the OFC and is scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. Introducing first, he's fighting out of the red corner. This man is a judo fighter with an MMA record of 3 wins with 1 loss. He stands 6 feet 2 inches tall. He weighed 153 pounds. Fighting out of Oliver, Ohio, Andrew Law! And his opponent, fighting out of the blue corner. This man is a freestyle fighter with an MMA record of 3 wins with 1 loss. He stands 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighed 155 pounds. Fighting out of Dayton MMA, Anthony Morgan! And your referee is Dr. Todd Augusta.
All right, gentlemen, we covered the rules in the back. If you have any questions, protect yourself at all times. Fight clean, fight fair, and fight hard. Let's go.
It's Andrew the Gavel Law in the black fight trunks, white trim. It's Anthony Morgan, camouflage with the black and white design. Dr. Todd Augusta, third man in the cage, and right away Morgan comes out throwing.
Right to work.
Head kick from Morgan. Closes the distance, deep on a single, looking to take down Andrew Law, and he does.
Showing a wide variety of skills in the early going is Morgan.
Shot out of a cannon. Anthony Morgan. Very high guard here from Andrew Law.
Trying to do with the overhook, looking to shoot up a triangle is Law from the bottom.
Well, he's got the right hand and arm of Morgan hooked, as you can see right here on the screen.
True, but that offside arm is still in. Now the head is worked out. The omoplata still remains, which is a shoulder lock, but it's going to be difficult to finish from here.
Morgan clears the arm. His corner telling him to get out, and Anthony Morgan backs up, lets Law up, and they're back on their feet.
Right now, Morgan looks to be able to dictate the pace of this fight, pushing this kid against the cage, working knees.
Knee from Morgan, and there's the
Harai Ghosh! Harai Ghosh from the Law, a beautiful throw. We told you he'd get his Rousey on.
There it is, Andrew Law. You know, some people come in and they have credentials in martial arts like jiu-jitsu or judo, and you never see him use it. Andrew Law, not that fighter.
A big Harai Ghosh. Now he's working to pass the half guard. Back to full guard, arm bar coming on. A weak attempt, frankly. Law still looking to pass the guard, trying to shove that knee in. He has to be careful. The triangle, the omoplata attacks are coming.
There's the omoplata attempt by Anthony Morgan on the bottom.
He should be okay now. He's worked that elbow out. So it's going to be hard for him to control the shoulder from here. Look for the Law to posture up and try to get to a more conventional position.
Andrew Law also has a leg triangle around the head of Anthony Morgan.
This is a common position that judokas use that other grapplers do not. This is a dangerous situation. You can get finished in that triangle, or he can start attacking the offside arm. The second he frees his arm, look to see what he does in terms of attacking the free arm.
What do you call this position, Darren?
Judo guy stuff? I'm not sure what it's called. It's just common in their game.
I call it awkward. Right now, look at this power of Anthony Morgan.
A reverse by Anthony Morgan.
And he looks like he doesn't want to play on the ground with Andrew Law. He stands back up.
Which is an intelligent choice if you truly feel you have a stand-up advantage.
And watch for the uppercut of Anthony Morgan.
High kicks.
Morgan throwing the left hook, followed with the right hand uppercut. He just missed Andrew Law with it. Watch for Morgan to go back to that combination.
He's looking for Harai Gosh again.
Look for a toss.
There it is.
Wow. Andrew Law.
Now Morgan seems to see the Harai Gosh coming. He's trying to change up those takedowns. Now looking for a fireman's.
That's it. Lock it. That's it.
Here's the danger of going for a fireman's. The danger is you can often expose your back if you over-rotate. And now he's looking to get the rear naked choke in the finish.
We've got some blood coming
Neck
from the
crank.
nose of Andrew Law.
Neck crank. Law turning in successfully. He's still in danger here. He could be triangled right now. He frees his arm.
Clear, now in the guard, open guard of Anthony Morgan. And Anthony Morgan, watch for him to push him off, create space, get back to his feet. We're in the professional division, 3 5-minute rounds. Anthony Morgan
difficult to sprawl against the cage. He needs to move. You see how quickly that takedown occurred? And now back to that judo triangle position.
Big elbows from Andrew Law.
Head up, Anthony, head up.
Morgan gets out, and it looks like he's inside. He does. He finishes inside mount here on top of Andrew Law. Elbows are legal. We're in the professional division.
Elbows are legal as long as they're not to the spine. Those look clean to me.
That's it.
Morgan, knee on belly, looking for it, looking to mount.
Belly, Anthony.
Nice job by Andrew Law to get the legs in there and regain guard.
Law looking to use the elbows to create cuts and space.
Anthony Morgan again stands up and backs off.
He seems to know where he feels the most confidence. He's working the fight to the position that's his advantage. There's nothing wrong with this.
Now, Anthony, come on. Move, move, move. Set the combo, set the combo.
Good combination by Andrew Law.
Combo.
And just a bull rush there, Darren, by
A decent sprawl. He needs to kill the head. He's focusing on striking, but he should make sure he's defending the position.
big elbows by Andrew Law, and I think Morgan's hurt. Morgan
He
is
could
covering
be.
up.
He's looking to stop this fight. He's relentlessly striking from the top of the half guard.
Big strikes on Anthony Morgan. There's 20 seconds left in the first round. Can Morgan survive?
A
He's
lot
got
of
to
those
move.
aren't getting through, but he needs to move.
Big elbow to the body here.
Now he's looking for a deep half guard type sweep, trying to protect himself, put his head in a spot where none of the legal blows are available.
End of first round. Anthony Morgan survives. It looks like Andrew Law hurt him there with some of those elbows.
I would agree. It would be the reason that he ended up turning to the bottom of the half guard instead of continuing to pursue that single leg.
What a round of action, though, Darren. I put it on you. How do you score that first round as we take a look at Holly Smith?
I thought we were friends, Ryan. Why would you put this on me? It's a very tight round. It's a very tight round. I think you can give it to the Law. He finished very strong. It looked like he may have even been able to finish the fight. So that gives it 10-9 to Andrew Law.
Consider the takedowns and how heavily some MMA judges view the takedown. Anthony Morgan had quite a few of those. And remember, as we take a look at the first round action, this is some of that ground and pound that Andrew Law got working.
In this position right now, you have to ask yourself who's doing damage. The person under control often is seen as the person on top. It's not always the case.
Remember, it's been a year since Andrew Law has been in the cage. The rust has been knocked off. Round 2 of a 3-round fight. We'll see if Andrew Law comes in looking like the more seasoned fighter now that he's got that out of the way. A year is a long time to be outside the cage.
A year is quite a long time to be away.
Big right by Andrew Law.
Sharp right hand.
That's it, Anthony. Move.
I'd like to see a little more head movement from the Law.
Andrew Law fighting southpaw, closes the distance.
Where's the underhook? Where's the underhook?
Again, working that clinch. Harai Ghosh opening up right here. He's going to step across the hips and look for another big throw.
Good knee by Morgan out of the clinch.
It's those overhooks. Those overhooks. Welcome to Harai Ghosh.
Big knees by Morgan. Law picking up the pace a little bit in the clinch, and these two guys are putting on a scrambling, a grappling clinic against the cage here.
Look as Morgan tries to connect the hands here and drop him. Excellent job. He gets his head up so that he maintains the position. He's going to start passing the half guard right away here.
Drive the knee through the mount. Elbow.
Excellent advice from his corner, drive the knee through the mount. Although,
and now he finds himself possibly in a triangle situation.
Andrew
A
Law.
tight, tough situation with a lot of time left in this round.
Big elbows from Andrew Law here
Andrew
to the
Law.
side of the head.
Looking to close out using those elbows, see if he can make the man tap.
And he's got it.
And he
Anthony
does.
Morgan taps out. I don't know if that was from strikes or the triangles, but Anthony Morgan taps out round 2.
The angle of the choke tells me the choke wasn't quite in. I think it was the elbows. Knowing that you can't solve that position, time to tap out and get out.
Wow, what a performance by Andrew Law. This was a great fight. Both these fighters came in. We saw everything standing on the ground, the takedowns, the judo throws, and some huge scrambles. And here, look at the finish, Darren. Tell us if it's a triangle or the elbows.
Here we are. We have the triangle locked in. He's bringing those elbows strong, and he keeps them legal right on the side of the head here. You see how the arm isn't really bringing that shoulder into his neck, so he's diving to the side to try to avoid some of those elbows, realizes he can't, and submits. I don't believe he was being choked, but it's a tough position to be in. I would not have wanted to be there myself.
We're gonna find out when we get in the cage here with Andrew Law what he thought was that
What
finished
really
the fight.
happened.
Speaking of Andrew Law and getting in the cage, and Nick Hahn is in there with the winner. Make it official. We send it up to Nick Hahn.
Ladies and gentlemen, the referee has called a stop to this contest at 1 minute and 20 seconds in round number 2. Declaring your winner by tap out due to strikes, Andrew Law.
I'm here with Andrew Law, and you just exchanged some words here. The first question I was going to ask you is, was it the choke or the elbow that earned the tap?
It was the choke. He ain't going to tap from getting hit. He's too tough for that.
Certainly. Hats off to Anthony Morgan. One more time. What a fight from Anthony Morgan. That's what you expect at the OFC, is two fighters to come out here and bring it the entire time. Thank you very much. And Andrew, it's been a year since you've been in the cage. From where I was sitting, it seemed like you knocked the rust off a little bit and you got more acclimated and more used to being in here. Did it take a minute to get used to it again?
Yeah, man, that whole first round, I was like, what am I doing? I completely forgot what it was about. But by the time I got into the second round, I started to figure it out again. And, Anthony's insanely tough, man. He brought it completely. And he had me backpedaling, dude, and it took me a second to adjust.
Absolutely. It was a scrap in all facets of the fight, especially where I think you two showed your professionalism and your skills was in the clinch and the scrambles. How do you feel you fared against a wrestler the caliber of Anthony Morgan?
Oh, his hips are great, dude. I could hardly get him down. I got him with one trip, and after that he learned his lesson, and it was impossible to get him back down to the ground.
Anybody out there you'd like to thank?
I want to thank my dad. He's been doing this with me forever since I was 5, 6 years old. He's been traveling me all around the country, letting me throw people around and get thrown around by people. So I love him very much. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing this stuff.
Guys, put your hands together. The victorious Andrew, the Gavel Law.
Intimidation Clothing is the biggest supporter of local MMA and combat sports in the Midwest, working with top fighters and events in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and more. While other brands come and go, Intimidation brings a consistency to the industry rarely seen in local MMA. With more than 110 styles of high-quality t-shirts, hats, hoodies, training gear, and more, find Intimidation online at intimidationclothing.com and at sporting events across the Midwest. Nobody supports local MMA like Intimidation. Nobody.
We told you the OFC always brings it, and Ohio Fighting Championships does it one more time. Speaking of doing it one more time, Andrew Law moves his record to 4-1. How about that performance tonight against Anthony Morgan?
An outstanding performance, locking in the triangle choke, and not just relying on the triangle as a choke, but utilizing elbows to force the opponent to adjust. Key to victory.
Truly a nasty display of both brutality and technique. Andrew Law, one of the top guys in the entire state in the 170-pound weight division. Well, that does it for this week's episode. For Darren Branch, I'm Ryan Cavanaugh, and we'll see you next week inside the cage.
Intimidation Clothing is the biggest supporter of local MMA and combat sports in the Midwest, working with top fighters and events in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and more. While other brands come and go, Intimidation brings a consistency to the industry rarely seen in local MMA. With more than 110 styles of high-quality t-shirts, hats, hoodies, training gear, and more, find Intimidation online at intimidationclothing.com and at sporting events across the Midwest. Nobody supports local MMA like Intimidation. Nobody.